Yeah, so because the feedback is actually done through, typically it doesn't happen here. Yeah, it's outside of, but we use that. That may not be within the the single view, customer view, if you will, right? Again, data quality is again very important, right? So this match and merge is something that takes place constantly. It's not a one-time activity, it's an ongoing activity. So for instance, here you see that there are two names, Stephen S and Stephen Sim. They're actually the same customer. Because they belong to the same address maybe, but you need to apply some standardization to the the telephone number because they're actually different. So once you clean it up and you match and merge, you will be identifying them as the same customer. So there is, yeah, I mean, there are huge problems with the data quality usually in this industry because, it's the call center agents are not, very accurate. There are a lot of typos. So there is a lot of cleanup that needs to be done, and that's an ongoing basis. Some of the insights, what we have found is, if someone is ordering for, let's say, dinner, if their order preference is dinner, 74% of the time, the next order is always going to be for a dinner meal, okay? Likewise, if someone is ordering a pizza for lunch, the next time the order is again a pizza for lunch, 69% of the time. Now these are the insights that you get only by doing very deep analysis of a lot of transactions across geos, right? So in other words, what does this imply? If I want to send an offer, obviously I will send an offer for a pizza that's relevant for dinner to the guys who are more than 3/4, 75. There's a probability of 0.75 that the guy is going to be ordering something for dinner, right? The second insight here is the time of the day. If the person is ordering, let's say during a weekday, chances are that 67% of the time he would be ordering a pizza for a weekday meal, and similarly for weekend, 64% of the time there is again a pattern. So this is again what we infer by analyzing the data, these sort of patterns. And this is very useful in any form of communication that you're going to do with that customer later on. Segmentation methodology. So, so here, what we do is, the first thing is, there could be any number of variables that impact purchase behavior, right? So things like, what do we out of all these variables, how do we know what are the most significant KPIs out of this? So we have to use a clustering technique, right? So you may have, for instance, group size may be affecting, or something like total number of visits may be a significant factor, or maybe the guy, you may think that, hey, just based on the percentage discount, the person would be most likely to transact. So out of all of these variables, we use k-means methodology as the standard clustering algorithm, and then we derive what we call as the most significant or the high impact variables. So out of, let's say, 40 plus variables, we may derive under 10 significant variables after the clustering approach. So once we do that, then we can segment the customer according to those dimensions. I already mentioned that behavior and taste are two standard segmentation approaches. So let's say we have these segments for each of these areas. Now we can derive micro segments based on the segmentation that we have done for behavior and taste. The micro segment is very simple. It's just a grid here that says, at the intersection of the segment, at the behavior and taste, we derive these specific micro segments, right? So for instance, B1C4 is someone who's a menu miner. What did we say here for menu miner? Menu miner are those who buy combo meals most of the time, and they also buy side dishes like wings or pasta or whatever more than pizza, right? And C4 we said is, no, hold on, B1, okay, B1 is promo lover, right? So promo lover is someone who has a good annual purchase volume, so they come in frequently to your to your store to order, and also more importantly shop only when promotions are on, right? So these segments, these micro segments again can be used for more personalized targeting. So the micro segments can be extended, right? So here I have said that there are two types of customers. There are regular customers and one-timers who have shopped just once, right? So in the regular customers, I have something like 15,360 segments. So how did I come up with that? So behavioral clustering, we had 4 segments, which I showed previously. Taste is again, we had 4 segments. Favorite pizza, so these are all the types of pizza, which is a combination of the size of the pizza and the type of pizza, right? There can be a tandoori pizza or whatever, and you typically have 3 sizes for the pizza, right? A combination of that, you can have 40 segments typically. Again, this is also, there is some geographic variance here, some may have less, some may have more, but typically. And then life cycle stages, I mentioned earlier on that there are 6 life cycle stages, starting with an active customer and getting that person to be a loyal customer, or if the person turns into a dormant customer, you have 2 interactions, or if he is a lapsed customer, again you have 2 interactions, right? So there are 6 stages for life cycle, and 4 for weekend, weekday customers. So weekend, weekdays, again you will have 4 because you have the 2 weekend days, and then you have the lunch and dinner combination for each of the weekend days. So you multiply all that, you get 15,360 segments. Okay, so and again we have 19,920 segments for the one-time users, so total of 17,280 segments, right? And this is again the flow chart for interacting with a customer using the life cycle approach. We already spoke about this before. So the result is basically, when you're using analytics, this is something we have already proven: 3 to 5% same store growth, 10% frequency, transaction increase of 8%, and all of this is night and day. I mean, may look like small numbers, but when you look at a multi-billion-dollar business, it's a huge impact. So these are just some statistics. Basically, you can treat all customers similarly, you get a certain number of results. But the holy grail is, not just understanding whom to target, but whom to target, with what to target, which is the product, and also to when to target that particular customer, right? So that's pretty much all I have. Yeah, we'll, so I think we've already overshot our allocated time. Thank you very much, and I'll be happy to interact with you over lunch. Yeah.
Right. Just one moment, Govind. We have one last presentation, and then we're going to break for lunch. Go. Yeah. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you for your presentation.
Sure.
Yeah, sure. All right, so we have one final presentation pre-lunch, which will be taken by Hemant, the founder of Torch Technologies.
Yeah, hey, so thanks for coming. Thanks to the organizers, for giving me this opportunity to talk about this. So I want to share some experiences of, or examples of how retail industry is using big data today, how decisions are being made, and how things are changing, right? So just briefly about me. So I'm an engineer. I'm an entrepreneur. I've done multiple startups in the tech space since 99, 2000. For the last 1 year, I am highly enamored by the this area, the big data analytics, especially as applied to the retail industry. So in the process, I have formed a company named Torch Technologies. It's a product company focused on delivering hardware and software solutions to retail industry. And incidentally, so Target Corporation of US is incubating and funding Torch today, right? That's briefly about me. So who knows this movie? Which film is that? Yeah, Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs, right? Good movie, great movie, right? So it's about a small island called Swallow Falls. It's a small island hidden behind the letter A in Atlantic, kind of a thing. So the economy of this whole place, right, moves around sardines. The whole town, small town, everybody is doing something to do with sardines, right? And we have our man here, Tim Lockwood, who's for generations sold bait and tackle for sardines, right? You have expertise, the customer is also fairly knowledgeable, and then your product, etc., is not changing greatly and so on. That's the kind of life there was, right? If we replace the word sardines with saris, for example, right, that probably talks about how Bangalore was 20 years back, right? 20 or any other place actually. Most retail was happening like that. Knowledgeable, you would know your customer very well, sell the same thing to them day in day out, open the shop and they'll come, kind of a model, right? But life isn't like that anymore. I think if you stayed on till the second half of the movie, you realize life didn't stay on the same way at Swallow Falls, and certainly not in Bangalore or any other place really, right? Modern retail is complex, right? What is this chart here, right? This is a coffee chart, right? You go to a Starbucks and try to order a coffee, right? They'll ask you, sir, you want espresso, latte, cappuccino, americano? What are you looking for? You say espresso and say, hot or cold, and with decaf, half decaf, regular, single, double sizes, and then you have your milk type, soy milk, whole milk, with cream, without cream. So it's getting complex. So, and why is it getting complex, right? Because customers, probably consumers, are asking for choices. They want more options, so that the age of ultra personalization, as you say, right? I want my my latte with soy milk and 4 shots, right? There are always people who are demanding that, and at least in case of coffee, right? The retailers are also literally throwing down your throat, a lot of these choices, right? Whether you like it or not, because if you read a book called Undercover Economist, a bunch of places, right? It came that the margins really are super high on these extra value adds that you add, right? The cost of acquisition and retention and all the other things that we talked about in the previous presentation, right, is the same. Now, if the user comes in and orders a simple plain vanilla cappuccino or espresso and leaves, fine, there are costs associated with that, you probably even lose money. But if you sell extra whipped cream or something, everything is margin, everything is profitability, right? So that's how retail is changing. And like in the previous session, Govind was saying, right? So the game changer really is data and your knowledge of what customer preferences are and so on. The more you know about it, the more you can sell and probably make profits and so on, right? So big data, again, you've been hearing for 2 days. There are a number of ways to talk about what big data is and this and that. At least for the purpose of this presentation, we'll the definition that we are using is anything that the customer isn't explicitly telling you. If you derive insights or analytics from that, actionable insights, right? We'll treat that as big data, right? So if you go into a shop and say cappuccino, probably that's not big data, right? It gets recorded in your system anyways, and so on, right? So for this big data, right, what are the sources of data that retail industry today is relying on for big data? Point of sale, of course, primarily, right? So all transactions now are getting into the point of sale. Again, probably not in the the Swallow Falls days. You could go and they would just write down, or transaction would happen in cash, nothing gets recorded, kind of thing. Not happening anymore. Modern retail, everything is computerized, everything goes through point of sale. Social networks, of course, again, a customer before the the wish list of the customer, so to speak, is a lot of times is on the social network. They check with their friends what they want to buy. They also come back and give feedback on what they like and so on. So social networks are an important source of data. And then sensors, like in consumer life, right? You have a phone which has a gyroscopes and light sensors and proximity. So sensors are pervading, with technology and with Moore's law taking care, right? A lot of sensor technology is getting cheaper, and retail industry is very much using a lot of this stuff. Right, so we'll get into some of these things and say, how that data is being used and how it's helping businesses improve their operations today or make more money, right? Point of sale data, I think the pizza case we went into in a fairly deep manner, but for example, take another case of diapers, right? Now, a customer walks in and buys diaper, you already know something about the customer. That probably there's a small child somewhere, a baby. You could upsell, scent-free oils and tear-free shampoos and stuff like that, right? Which goes obviously. But by aggregating the point of sale data over a period of time, a particular retailer figured out that a lot of times, number of diaper sales are happening in silos, right? Which means consumers are walking in, they're not there to shop, they're not buying anything else. They're just picking up a pack of diapers and going away, right? So, and it's not one transaction we're talking about. When you see hundreds of transactions happening across geographies and this, you start to, question the trend and saying, why is this happening, right? So, on further investigation, it was figured out that, moms, at home are calling up husbands and saying, hey, on your way back, can you just pick up a... Now, the husband is least interested in doing any more window shopping or anything. They just want to come, pick up the diaper and go, right? What can you sell? So, this point of sale data goes back and feeds the planogram, the way the store layout is done, right? So, somebody figured out that if single dads or, at work dads are coming and just picking up, right next to the diaper thing, if you put beer or, diet cokes or whatever, right? That starts to move fast. So, and when this was implemented at retailers, it's seen that somehow a unique basket of diapers with beers, got created, and a lot of people started moving that. Right. Likewise, of course, all the data also, retailers try to get more and more data into the loyalty systems, right? So if the users transact using the same card or whatever, you put them into a bucket and, over a period of time, try to realize where in life they are. So if you sold diapers to somebody, right, for last 6 months, the same customer, let's say today is buying a walker set kind of a thing. So, the baby is growing very good. So you also know in advance that 6 months from now, 12 months from now, this same customer would be ready for, a tricycle, and 2 years from now, a bicycle, and so on, right? So that's an example of, the point of sale data being used to improve the overall operation, to predict what this same customer is going to buy tomorrow and, create an opportunity for that, right? I think this part is also, so while point of sale is the primary source for all transactional data, everything moves through point of sale, it's also limited. The holy grail, right? All retailers, what do they want to do? They want to increase the number of transactions, right? Summary, business done, let's go home, kind of a thing. Right? But a lot of times that's just the effect. That's not always, giving the complete picture on what are the causes. It doesn't tell you anything about lost opportunities. If you go to a store, L or a Mango store, spend 3 hours there trying out all sorts of jeans and sizes and this and that, and you go back without transaction, the point of sale doesn't know anything about that, right? You don't know the lost, the cost of lost opportunities through point of sale. Likewise, you don't know the customer satisfaction, right? Sure, if you end up picking a defective product, yeah, you're going to come back and, that gets reflected in the point of sale because the customer demands a refund or a, exchange or something. But a lot of times it's not that bad. Customer has something to say about it, good or bad, right? That doesn't get captured in the point of sale. So that's where we're looking at other sources like social network and sensors. Social networks, I had put something on that, but I've removed it, assuming that, there's a lot of intuitive knowledge and, some of the other sessions are already covering about that. But let me talk about sensors briefly, right? Sensors are everywhere now, right? The moment you get into a mall, for example, right, you press that button and try to park your car, it's recording data, and this data is being used by the malls and the stores to optimize your experience overall. So, the total number of people who came in cars through this system, and how long the car is going to be before the same thing gets passes through the exit gate. So the overall traffic that you're going to get into the mall, right? And so you step out of the car,